The first Americans were descended from Australian Aborigines, according to evidence in a new BBC documentary. Ancient Voices shows that the dimensions of prehistoric skulls found in Brazil match those of the Aboriginal peoples of Australia and Melanesia. Other evidence suggests that these first Americans were later massacred by invaders from Asia. Until now, Native Americans were believed to have descended from Asian ancestors who arrived over a land bridge between Siberia and Alaska. However, the new evidence shows that these people did not arrive in an empty wilderness. Stone tools and charcoal from the site in Brazil shows evidence of human habitation as long as 50,000 years ago. In remote northeast Brazil, an area that is now inhabited by the descendants of European settlers and African slaves who arrived there just 500 years ago. Cave paintings found here provided the first clue to the existence of a much older people. Images of giant armadillos, which died out before the last ice age, showed the artists who drew them lived before even the natives who greeted the Europeans. These Asian people have facial features described as mongoloid. However, skulls dug from a depth equivalent to 9,000 to 12,000 years ago are very different. Walter Neves, an archaeologist from the University of Sao Paulo, has taken extensive skull measurements from dozens of skulls, including the oldest, a young woman who has been named Lucia. The measurements show that Lucia was anything but mongoloid, he says. After reconstructing her face, Walter Neves stated, "It has all the features of a Negroid face." The skull dimensions and facial features match most closely to the native people of Australia and Melanesia. These people date back to about 60,000 years and were themselves descended from the first humans, who left Africa about 100,000 years ago. But how could the early Australians have traveled more than 8,000 miles at the time? The answer comes from more cave paintings, this time from Kimberley, a region at the northern tip of Western Australia. Now, if you want to continue reading this, just go ahead and pause. But if you want me to just sum this up for you, there's significant evidence to suggest that the first Americans actually arrived by boat. If anyone is making a statement that these individuals weren't advanced enough to travel by boat, that is actually incorrect. There's even cave paintings that depicts them using a boat. So the shape of the skulls changes between 9,000 and 7,000 years ago, from being exclusively Negroid to exclusively Mongoloid. Combined with rock art evidence of increasing violence at the time, it appears that the Mongoloid people from the north invaded and wiped out the original Americans. At the time of this article, the only evidence of any survivors comes from Terra del Fuego, the islands at the remotest southern tip of South America. Prior to European colonization, the people who lived in this area show hybrid skull features, which could have been resulted from intermarrying between Mongoloid and Negroid people. The identity of the first Americans is the emotive and controversial question, but the evidence from Brazil and a handful of people who still live at the very tip of South America suggests that the Americas have been home to a greater diversity of humans than previously thought, and for much longer. These are the depictions of Australian Aboriginals and Melanesians. Australian Aboriginals were actually one of the first groups to leave Africa, and it was actually the first group to migrate into Asia. Because they was the first group to leave Africa, they are genetically very, very different from Africans. However, as you can see, phenotype-wise, they are still Negroid. So it's crazy how two of the most genetically diverse groups of people on this planet are still a variation of the Negroid phenotype. But of course, this isn't actually surprising because a lot of black Americans have been saying this for many years. Not only black Americans, but there has been white explorers, white historians, Latin people, Latin historians. There's been many different people of different cultures, of different backgrounds that have all been saying the same thing. Carlos Marquez. The Negro type is seen in the most ancient Mexican sculpture. The Negro is figured frequently in the most remote traditions of some American pueblos, and is to this race, doubtlessly, belongs the most ancient skeletons, distinct from the red American race, which have been found in various places from Bolivia to Mexico. It is likely that we repeat, America was a Negro continent. Another interesting thing that I noticed is that if you was to look at some indigenous Americans, and if you was to cut these people hair today they would be classified as black or African American just by how they look. Another significant piece of evidence is that there are legal papers, records that can be looked up to this very day that show census records changing indigenous people from being called Indian to being called colored or being called Negro.
15th census of the United States, 1930, 30 years later. Again, place of birth, it tells you about the father and mother, the classifications, the age, the color, all that, right? Sex. All right. So we're going to go look for Guy Spalding. Again, here he is, line 57. Close in. Line 57. Guy Spalding, head of the household. Again, here goes Delphia, his wife, and the other people in his family. It says that he is male, and then you can see a scribble where it says race or color. It's hard to tell what it says. IN, is that IN Indian? Or mulatto? MU? What is that? What does that mean? IN? What is this? Right? But let's keep going. So he's Guy Spalding again, head of the household. Says he would be 82 years old here. Alright, so it does match with the person we've been following. Now look at this, his place of birth, right? Now look at this, place of birth. It says that he is from North Carolina, but that his father and mother are full-blooded Cherokee. Now all of a sudden, they're listing his father and mother as full-blooded Cherokee. What does that make Mr. Guy Spalding? If his parents are full-blooded Cherokees, that would make him a full-blooded Cherokee as well. Not a black or a mulatto, because mulatto, they were using it again. We already read it in Africans and Native Americans, that it means almost like a mixture, a mongrel, whatever they saw, whenever they saw people of different nations mixing. In this case, his parents are full-blooded Cherokee, so he is not a mulatto in their definition at that time. And he is not black. He is colored, copper colored, and they tagged him as black, right? You're not a crayon color. So 1930, so let's go over it again. 1880, mulatto, 1900, black, and then now 1930, full-blooded Cherokee parents. That makes him a full-blooded Cherokee. And you see the scribble in the color, all right? Now look at this as well. Back up a little bit. Right, you see how slick they are? All right. Now I just want to show you one more thing. Death certificate. I just want to show you this is from 1936. It says he would be 86. So in 1936 minus 86, that would bring us to 1850. Again, he could almost be turning 87. So again, that would mean that he was born in 1849, and we are talking about the same person. And it says here that sex male, color or race Negro, wife Delphia Spalding. So we are talking about the same person, and I want you to see how real this is, how this one example, this one person went through so many classifications through his life in these census records, so-called census records, right? How they tagged him mulatto, black, then he's full-blooded Cherokee, now he died a Negro. You see, he died a Negro. And how common is this? Does this sound familiar in your family? So I just want you to have a foundation. That's why I'm showing you this. Thank you, Kiowa, for sending this record so we can share it with the whole tribe, all the people out here tuning in right now.
Most dark-skinned natives, indigenous to the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians, who were reclassified as Negro or colored during the 17 and 1800s, have found themselves in the 20th and 21st century again reclassified as Black Americans and African Americans. The complexion of the Carolina Indians is black, not much different from that of Ethiopians. I mean, in all honesty, when I see pictures of these people, I see Black Americans today. I see Latinos today. I see mixed people today. You know, like to me, I've always seen Blacks, Natives, and Latinos as all being the same people. So a lot of this is not surprising to me at all. So after that information, after that article, it is absolutely undeniable that the Negroid phenotype was present in the Americas. It's undeniable that the Negroid DNA was present in the Americas. I mean, we've been seeing lots and lots of people say this. Lots of historians state this. Lots of explorers state this. But I guess, for a lot of people, that wasn't enough. So now it's like, when is this going to become common knowledge? Like, when is it going to get to the point where a Black American can be embracing their native culture, their native heritage, their indigenous heritage without any type of, sly ass remarks, without being disrespected, without being told that they, hate themselves, that they're self-hating, that they can't embrace their own culture and shit like that. When is that gonna happen? When are we gonna start hearing apologies from these people that it was wrong, that that the Negro phenotype was always present in the Americas? When are we gonna start getting these? I'm waiting for these. And then on top of that, not only was it proven this way, right? Because I'm the type of person that likes to do a lot of research. I'm a truth seeker. When I do my research on these topics, a couple years later, I would like to go back and basically brush up on that knowledge and see if they ever expanded upon that information. So that's what I did with, Walter Neves and the whole Australian Aboriginals were the original, inhabitants of the Americas thing. So I went back and they actually expanded upon what he was talking about. At first, I was reading the article and I'm thinking like, wait, are they trying to say that he was wrong? But then when I finished reading the article, I realized like, oh, they're not saying that he's wrong. They're saying that they needed more solid proof to back what he was saying. So what they did is they took 5 skulls from the Americas, right? They genetically tested these skulls. 3 out of 5 skulls that they tested all contain Australian Aboriginal DNA. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, like, yeah, are y'all ready to admit this shit now? Like, say it with me now. Black people are indigenous to the Americas as well. Another thing that y'all need to understand and realize is that when a Black person or when anyone says that Black people are indigenous to the Americas, that's not them saying like, oh, we own y'all culture. That's not them saying that shit. That's them essentially saying that, oh, the culture that you belong to, it also have people that look like us in it. You know what I mean? Like that's essentially what they're saying. And I mean, that's not hard to believe at all, because you can see Native Americans, you can even see Latins who look exactly like a Black person. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not a far off concept to say that, oh, We all originate from Negroid people who inhabited the Americas. It's not that far of a concept, you know? Like when you look at these pictures of these people, the most natives from the pre-Columbian era are darker than I am. So it's like, how can you not believe that we originate from the same people? You know, like I tell people all the time, Black Americans, Native Americans, and Latinos are essentially all the same people, you know? Like that's not to just, try to minimize the differences between us, because we all do have differences, but we also have to remember like there's a lot of similarities between us as well, but I'm gonna say this once. I don't want to ever hear no more shit like you just a black person that don't want to embrace your culture. You're just a black person that don't have an identity, so you're trying to take someone else's identity. I better never hear no shit like that, bro. Never. Because it's like you're just ignorant. You're ignorant as fuck if you're saying something like that, We've been having so many people, Black Americans, say, oh, they reclassified those people. We've been hearing black people say, oh, we was Indians, or we've always been on these lands, And then a lot of people didn't take that shit serious. And now it's like the science is actually backing what these people have been saying. It feels good, because it's like for the longest time, a lot of people, white people, black people, natives, Latinos, all have been like gaslighting this selective group of people that have been spreading this truth for the longest time. They've been gaslighting these people, saying that, that they're self-hating, that they don't know what they're talking about, that, they're making shit up and all that, and then now it's like, it just feels so good because it's like the science is there. The science backs what these people are saying. So, like if you've been saying this for a while, this is your proof. Spread that shit, let people know, celebrate, do what you gotta do.